I'm just this little dude from a small town, and now I'm in New York City. I'm playing video games. Like, this is awesome.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
My name's D Mills. IRL name is Daryl. The way I got started into the game was I always avoided World of Warcraft. I didn't know what it was when I was in high school. I mean, that's really when it was big. When I got to college, I knew about it, but I always avoided it because I knew I would be super addicted to it. And the $15 a month being a college kid is scary. Like, the Spotify and Hulu combo for $4 a month or whatever, yeah, that's whatever. I could just find $4 under my bed or something. The $15 was like, oh shit. Like, there's no way I could ever do that. I avoided it, and then probably about a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, I decided, you know what, to hell with it. I'm gonna do it. It seems pretty fun. One of my old buddies from high school is still playing it. He started in Burning Crusade, but he never told anyone because it was like a niche thing, you know? I tried the trial when my buddy convinced me, and the trial isn't anything comparatively to what the game actually is. You're on an island and you're just killing stuff and like picking bandages up and whatever it is. And then I had a buddy when I was in the police academy. He was super big into it. This dude was jacked. We worked out together and all that fun stuff. And he said, this is when Classic first came out, or was about to come out. So he brought his laptop up from home, and we lived in a hotel room for, God, I don't know how many months, 6 months. And Classic came out. So every day after class, when Classic came out, we would go to our room and we would go work out. But first he had to log in to Classic because he was leveling with all his old buddies. And I'm like, man, I'd watch him play for hours. He'd be up till 1 a.m. and we'd have to be up at 5 or 6 in the morning to go do our, police academy stuff. After about 2 weeks of that, and him waiting like 3 hours in queue to get in, I said, you know what, I'm gonna try it. I'm just gonna do it by myself. And I did Classic for a little bit, and Classic is just nuts, because, I mean, there's tons of add-ons now and stuff that helps, but I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And that was kind of fun, because I like to learn new things and challenge myself, I guess. My first real love was Rocket League. I've almost like 3,000 hours in that. I didn't stop playing that for a while. I gave myself to the end of college to do something with that. In the gaming world, I've just been kind of lost, and this has been filling the void, as I'm going to say, for my gaming. When I started in retail, I finally said to hell with it. I'm going to pay the $15 a month. It was about halfway through Shadowlands, and I played by myself mostly. When my buddy that played retail would pop on, and we'd do LFR and stuff like that. It was just me and him. And then he fell off for a little bit, and I just kept playing. And I still had no idea what the hell I was doing. I kept playing, and near the end of Shadowlands, everything kind of started to click. I never really was able to get into an expansion when it first started. And seeing that I joined Shadowlands, or started in Shadowlands about halfway through, not knowing my ass from a hole in the ground, Dragonflight was announced. And I'm like, oh my god, this is great, you know? I'm gonna get to go to Orgrimmar, get on the Zeppelin, and see all the, hundreds of people or 100 people, wherever it is, waiting for it, just sitting there talking. You know what I mean? Like an MMO should be. Me and my friend, my one friend that still plays retail, we got in to the Dragon Isles, and we lasted about 5 minutes. And I have a pretty good PC, I'd like to think. I spent some money on it, when I got my big boy job. And oh my gosh, the lag was insane. He plays on a laptop. He was having more troubles than I was. And then we tried for about an hour, and then we just gave up for the night. It's going to be here. We're going to wait. It'll be fine. Since launch day, I mean, it's gotten better. There's still some issues here and there. That's great. But I don't want to use the word addicted because that sounds bad in a sense, but maybe enamored is a better word. Like, it is so fun. And now that I have friends to play with, and I just joined like this, I don't want to say big guild, but people who, there's always people doing something. They're always doing mythics. They got a raid night. I think we're doing a raid tonight, or finishing the raid that we started on Tuesday. And even just friends that I've met through like IRL friends that play, and I have no idea. It's been a pretty fun journey, and the crafting system has been a great update. Sometimes I go back to Classic. That's like, why am I doing this? Why am I torturing myself when I have all these great resources in retail, and I have this and this and this that I could just look up, or with the new talent system, I could just copy and paste something, you know what I mean? When I was in high school, we didn't have, I don't want to say much money, but I wasn't sure how I was going to pay for college. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to join the military. That's how I'm going to pay for school. So I joined the Army National Guard, and it'll be 10 years coming up this month that I've been in, and it's been wonderful, and it's been horrible. Just like anything, I mean, what are you gonna do? I've met some of the best friends I've ever had in that. So because of that, I met some of my best friends ever. And one of the guys, and he said one day, like, hey, we're applying. There's been a big hiring freeze for like 2 years, and we need people. So one day while I was at drill doing army shit, as I say, he sent me the link to apply to this job, which required the police academy 6 months and then another specialized academy for another 6 months. So the training's a year long. I applied while I was on the toilet, not thinking that I was going to get in just because it's such a niche thing and so many people apply, 1,000, 2,000 people apply to this, and they were only taking 25. So I ended up being one of the 25, and I think I almost shit myself because that's amazing. Fast forward to the police academy, we get in, and the day you go down and do your PT test, and this was actually down by where I was doing a military school, about 30 minutes away. And that same day I had to report into that military school. It was just, as they say, a gentleman's course. You go, you learn how to write like papers and do paperwork and all this stuff. And basically be a better leader, I guess is a good way to put it, for lack of better terms. That day I drove down there, which was where I was going was about 4 hours away from my house. I show up there and I have to do this PT test for the police academy to make sure that like you're physically fit, right? There's maybe 5 or 6 events. I can't really remember off the top of my head. So I go do this PT test for the police academy. I knock it out. Then I drive another 30 minutes or so to where I'm doing this military school course, whatever you want to call it. And I take another PT test. So the military PT test is a little bit more strenuous, a little harder, I would argue, than PT test. And by PT, I mean physical test. Like it's just a acronym, which is what the military loves. The next morning, we're up at 5 a.m. doing PT because we now have to learn how to do the Army standards of all of these different PRT, which is physical readiness training, I think. It's been so long since I've been there. So now we're up at 5 a.m. the next day. I took 2 PT tests in one day, and then the next morning we're up again at 5, doing this stuff all over again. And then we have to go to class, and now we're learning about papers. We're learning about world events, how to like evaluate them and come up with like a plan, all this stuff. I'm down there, and as I'm down there, this class is probably 2 or 3 weeks long. As I'm down there at this military school, where I need to go for this in-person job interview. Mind you, this is after college. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I had an idea, so I'm still trying to figure it out, and I applied to 2 jobs. It was this policing job, and then the other one was with Cloud9 as like a youth esports coordinator or something of the sort. And this was how many years ago? 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And I got an interview for both. So I did the interview for Cloud9, and I was in like the top 3 or something. And just because I live so far away, which understandable, that's a hell of a move across the country, but I didn't get it, whatever. And then I got the call from this policing job. And in the middle, I think about a weekend to this military school, I get a call from like the head honchos of where I'm working. And they're like, hey, we'd like to bring you in for an in-person interview. And it's like a panel of 3 people, and they give you situations and all this stuff. It's kind of daunting at first, but after you do it, it's like, oh, it's easy. It's just, this is all you have to do. So I go to my instructors and I'm like, hey, listen, I still live at home, right? Like I'm down here for the school. This is all fine and dandy, but I have a job interview for like a dream job in like 3 days. Is it cool if I go? It'd probably take an hour, 2 hours tops, and then I'll be back. Like I'm not going, AWOL, I'm not leaving, I'm not doing anything crazy, but because they were understanding and what I'd like to say good leaders and trying to promote my future, they said, yeah, that's fine. So that night after class, I went to Walmart and got dress clothes because I didn't have any down there. I didn't know what was going to happen, so I didn't bring any nice clothes or anything to this military school because you don't need it. You wear, camo uniforms. I went to Walmart with one of my roommates. He ended up being a really good friend. I bought some nice clothes, went back, got it all ready for the next day, and I left at like maybe 10, 11 a.m. Went to the interview. I thought I killed it, but I don't know. I got the job, so I'll count it as that. And then as soon as I was done with class that day after I went back, I just went back to Walmart, returned all the clothes because I didn't need it anymore. So after that, I mean, it's been history ever since. I started playing back probably about halfway through Shadowlands, and when I first started, it was so confusing. I didn't know what was going on. The Maw, honestly, was probably the most depressing shit I've ever done in a video game. And that's fine, but because I was looking for, the loot, looking to have fun, do some dailies, grind out some mounts. I didn't know how to get the mounts. I had no idea. And I think now in Dragonflight, I have just about every one minus all those otters, because some of them are like a drop chance for items you need, blah, 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 blah. But I'd argue that, or I'd say that Dragonflight's my favorite expansion because it's my first one that I'm able to actually participate in from the beginning. You know what I mean? And yeah, there might be a time where I take a break for a month or two, but honestly, it doesn't feel like if I left for a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever it was, I don't feel like I'd fall behind exactly. Especially because I'm participating and doing some, Mythic Plus and trying to get into some raiding. I wouldn't say hardcore raiding, but just being able to do it with people and talk to people and just have fun and make it a pleasant experience as opposed to all those memes you see from back in the day of people just getting screamed at in raids and stuff, as opposed to the Maw, right? Like, I get the whole gist of the Maw, that's fine, and I guess I should have just expected it, but I didn't really know the story when I first started. And now digging into the lore a little bit, watching a couple videos here and there, and some of these other, these content creators that explain the lore to people, it's understandable why it's how it was, but it's just such a breath of fresh air to go somewhere where there's green grass and waterfalls and shit, man. One of the daily quests, or a couple daily quests, is you ride on a raft and take pictures of animals and stuff. Like, that's pretty cool. I mean, sometimes it's a little annoying because it's like, shit, I gotta get on this raft again. It's still pretty neat. It's not like you're going to kill this big dude, in hell in the Maw, and then after that you get a piece of gear that's like, all right, cool, then you just vendor it anyway. So it's just been a very pleasant experience. The people so far have been pretty good, but I think it's all about who you surround yourself with. If you want to surround yourself with people who are super serious and want to, grind, that's great. There's also the casual, which I think I'm like maybe 10% above casual. Like, I don't have to log in, but I just enjoy the game, so I like to log in, and it's fun. You know what I mean? Like a day-to-day, I'd say would be, it just depends on the dailies, because I like to do dailies. I think I have all the reps up minus the Tuskar, because those Walrus boys, for me, it's been hard to get it's been hard to get rep for them, and that's fine. It just takes a little time, but all the other ones are up, and that's good. It's just from doing dailies, man. Like, I enjoy just logging in, having something to do, and then after I'm done with those things, I can just do mythics. I can try to get into a raid, try to pug a raid, try to pug some mythics. It's all about who you surround yourself with, I think. Because if someone's toxic and just an asshole, like, I'm not gonna play with that dude, man. Like, I'm not looking to get screamed at, if I'm doing something wrong, just be like, yo, don't stand in the stuff. You know what I mean? I don't need to be screamed at up and down to not stand in something, so it's been pretty great so far. It's just pleasant. And then in 2015, I got my first PC. I elevated to the higher echelon of gamers, as some might say. In 2015, this game called Rocket League came out, and that was my first addiction, I guess. My first love of video game that's so competitive to where there's such a high skill gap, you can just continuously get better and better. And Rocket League in 2015 is a lot different than Rocket League in 2023 now. Decided I wanted to do it competitively, get on a team. I was on, back in the day, it was Mock It. Mock It, it was an organization back in the day. Then I think they had some kind of scandal or something. I don't really recall. I wasn't on their team, but they always had streams, and they call it King of the Hill. And then me and my first teammate ever, I'll never forget him, his name's Frizz. And at the time, 2015, I'll never forget him. He was like in his 30s, and he was really good too. Or late 20s, early 30s. And me and him would always sign up on Friday nights and do these King of the Hills, as they call it. So basically it was a 2v2, and if you won, you stayed. And if you just kept on winning, you would just keep playing people who signed up. And me and him would always do it, and then we'd always win, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches in a row, and we'd stay on there for a while. And it was always the casters like, talking about D Mills, 54, and Frizz. They're always coming in here, doing this, doing that. I ended up going on Reddit, searching for a team to get on, and that's when I met the Super Party Water Park guys. So I was on a team called Super Party Water Park, and this is old school stuff. I'll need to send this to them afterwards because they're still my friends. It's been 6 years now, 7 years. We played together. We did the Rocket League Championship Series. We did all kinds of tournaments and stuff. And then it got to a point where we were connected with some important people, some people within what was known as Mixer that changed into Beam. And we got invited to go to a LAN event at the Microsoft store on 5th Avenue in New York City to do a Rocket League tournament. And while that kind of fell through with the logistics, and there was only a couple teams signed up, and we were the only ones that were able to show up to the LAN, we still showed up, and we ended up doing like a World of Tanks thing on stream, and it was so cool to be a part of something like that. I thought, like, holy shit, this is amazing. I'm just this little dude from a small town, and now I'm in New York City. I'm playing video games. Like, this is awesome. And then after that, we did a couple more championship series, and we did okay. And then I met a couple other guys, and we ended up forming the team called Wumbo Chicken. And I still have the logos. I don't know why, but I do. It's just so funny. And then we ended up doing an RLCS one year, the Rocket League Championship Series, and all day. It was all day on a Saturday. I was in college. I got all my homework done. I did this, I did that. I got my cup of coffee, and I sat down, and we played Rocket League all day, and we just won and won and won. And it was to the point where we made it to the top 128 teams in North America, and all day we just memed out. There's this chicken song that we listened to. We made a Discord, we added a Discord bot in so we could just listen to the song. We were just having a blast. There were times when it got serious, but we were just having fun, memeing out. We made it to the top 128 teams in North America, and we said, holy shit, this is crazy. We didn't try, quote unquote. We just had fun all day, and that's really what it was about. So we did that, and then we were like, all right, when's the next one? When are we gonna have to qualify for the top 64 in North America? Because it's like a bracket system, right? So everyone plays for top 128, and then 64, and then so on and so forth. So when are we gonna go, or are we able to attend, the next tournament next Saturday? And none of us expected that we would get there. Like, it was just, we're just some dudes playing Rocket League, hanging out, and we made it. And now the dilemma was, well, we have one extra teammate who can come in and replace us. Well, he can make it, and I can make it, but the other two teammates, the main two teammates, couldn't make it because we didn't expect it. Well, the one was going on a trip to like Vermont or something, and these are two whole different guys, and they're still my friends to this day. They couldn't make it, so we ended up just not doing it. And that really wasn't the last of it, but that was kind of the fallout of my Rocket League career, quote unquote. After that, we ended up still playing. We did a lot of twos tournaments, me and one of my buddies, Solithic. He lived up in Illinois, so after the New York thing, we did the RLCS, and then we made it to that. We ended up signing up for a LAN tournament in Wisconsin. So I drove my little GMC Canyon to Illinois. I told my professor in college, I said, listen, man, I'm not going to be here Friday or probably Monday. Okay, like, is there anything I'm going to miss? I'm on top of the ball. I'm on top of the ball, man. Like, I want to catch up. I don't want to fail. I'm paying for this. I just don't, I don't want to do bad. And it was a geology class was the only one I was going to miss. That has nothing to pertain to criminal justice. So he was like, well, why aren't you going to be here? And I was like, listen, this is going to sound really weird, but I'm going to Wisconsin for a video game tournament. And he was like, what? What are you talking about? I said, listen, dude, I play Rocket League. I do it competitively. So I'm going to Wisconsin, and it's all weekend, and then I'm driving back Sunday or Monday. But I'm going to Illinois, then I'm going to Wisconsin, and then I'm driving back we're going back to Illinois, and then I'm coming back to PA. He was like, okay, yeah, man, no, you're good. You're not gonna miss anything. And if there's any notes you need or something, just ask one of your classmates. It's not a big deal. So we ended up going to the LAN tournament, and that's another time where I was like, holy shit, this is it. Like, we did the LAN tournament. We were one of the final matches of the day to make it into the top bracket, and this team that we were playing was really, really good. And it was streamed, it was broadcasted, and all this stuff. Ended up going to overtime. We won by a goal. It was crazy, man. Like the feeling of being next to your twos buddy, and just standing up and being like, screaming, and like it's amazing. And we got interviewed afterwards. It was a whole production. We ended up, I think, losing the next day. We didn't finish top 3, I don't think. I think we were pretty damn close. But after that, I went home and I finished college. I gave myself to the end of college to do something with Rocket League, and I got so damn close. And then I adhered to my stipulations. College ended. Life hit me in the face like a brick wall, and here we are. It was fun. I think I got just under 3,000 hours in it. I still play once in a while, but not as competitively as I did. It's a lot nowadays, and I'm getting old. 27, I'm getting old, but it was a blast while it lasted.